Right, so this is day 8 of Mastering Astral Projection, and the thing I wanted to note is that at the end of day 7, you're moving into a different section of the book, and they want to make sure that you've set up your private meditation space, you know all your deep physical relaxation exercises, you've practiced and memorized them. Yeah, so we got those down, right? And you've learned to focus on your breath, and you know how to stir, brush, and sponge, and you've stimulated the lower half of your energy body. So, um, there's some content in the book before you move on to day 8 as well. They get into some of the astral projection theory. I think I'm going to talk a little bit about these things, but I'm going to spread them out throughout this week. Um, I think one of the things that was most notable really is the different energy bodies. So we're talking about the fundamental energy body. So this is the energy body that we have within our physical existence that we're aware of. Probably comes out like stamina or personal strength, or we notice it when we feel tired and the body feels run down. So that's the fundamental energy body. The expanded energy body, uh, this is what they say, they consider this to be part of the first stage of the OBE. So when you start to have the OBE or out of body experience, you move into expanded energy body. So the other concept that's associated with this is the body double. Um, so it's not as if you're ever moving directly out of the fundamental energy body. You're actually creating a double of yourself. So what they call soul or spirit, whatever you want to call it, is always inhabiting all of these bodies simultaneously. So if you were to move into the expanded energy body, it's not like you leave the fundamental energy body behind. It's always a part of you. It's always there. And so what you're doing is creating a double of your consciousness, and that double of your consciousness moves into the expanded energy body. The real-time energy body. So uh, in astral projection parlance, there's two different experiences. One experience is you astral project and you move into the energetic equivalent of your physical existence. So in that energetic equivalent, physical things may be identical to what's happening physically, except you're seeing them energetically. What's more common, though, is that the items that you're associated with on the physical plane actually change. Um, for instance, if you were in your kitchen, your windows might not even be there. Um, your cupboards may not be there. Um, in fact, there may be other objects in its place. So real-time energy is the experience of moving into that real-time existence. The astral realms, of which there are 7 that people talk about, are not real-time. In fact, when you have the astral projection experience, one of the things you may strive for is to actually project far away from your body. The further that you can get away from your body, the further you move away from the magnetic pull that your physical body has to your energetic body. So the further you can get away, the more you will not have that draw to come back to the physical body, and you have the opportunity to move into the other astral realms where there are different types of experiences occurring. Um, and then the last thing they talk about is the astral energy body, which this is the energetic body that you would use in those astral realms. Okay? Clear as mud? Good. Um, so today we're doing the relaxation experience that we've already experienced. That's tensing and relaxing all of the parts of the body. for 5 minutes. Then the breath work changes this week. Okay, so you become aware of the conscious breath. That's the breath that you're paying attention to, watching it move in and out of the body for about a minute. Then you can do this. They say to do it for 6 to 12 breaths. Let's just say you're going to do it for 12 breaths, just to make it easy so it doesn't confuse these instructions. Okay, if you want to shorten that, you can, but over the course of 12 breaths, you will progressively make your breath more and more deep. So starting on breath 1 with your normal, somewhat shallow breath, you breathe, and you pause, and then you breathe again, and you get a little bit deeper. Deeper and deeper and deeper until by the 12th breath you are having a very deep breath. Not to the point of pain or exertion, just a very deep breath. Then you breathe that deep breath for 12 breaths. When you're done, you do the reverse. 12 more breaths going from deepest all the way back to normal. And that's the entire cycle. That's supposed to be 5 minutes. And I didn't time this, so I can tell you, well, let's see. I can tell you these exercises are going to be, if you did it the way that they suggest, it's 5, 10, 25, 30, 40 minutes. And I actually think it may have been a little bit longer than that for me, so just be prepared. Next, you're going to do, or you don't have to actually, this is optional. You could do the energy body stimulation. So this is the feet exercise, where you brush along the toes, forward and back, and then you brush sideways along the toes. Then you do the same thing on the underside of the feet. Then you do the stirring sensation on the underside of the feet, and then you do the sponging sensation throughout the feet. I decided to do it, and what I did was, rather than do the feet individually, I did them both together to minimize the amount of time that I spend on it. Then you do the energy body bounce, and I actually didn't do the energy body bounce today. This is the imagining that there's a ball of energy bouncing all the way up the leg from the foot to the hip and then back and forth, back and forth. I actually forgot to do that, but it is optional, so you don't have to. The thing that we're focusing on, though, is actually doing the same exercise with the feet, doing that exercise with the hands this time. So for about 30 seconds, you brush from the tip of the thumb, so spread the fingers slightly, rest the hands on the knees, brush from the tip of the thumb to the wrist, back and forth for 30 seconds. Index finger, 30 seconds. Middle finger, 30 seconds. Ring finger, 30 seconds, and then pinky, 30 seconds. Then you flip the hand over, and you do the same thing on the underside of the hand. Then you flip the hand over again, and you brush from the tips of the fingers all the way up to the wrist, back and forth, a wide brush covering the entire hand and all its fingers. And then you brush sideways along the fingers. Okay, so going from the thumb to the pinky, back and forth. And then you turn the hand over and you do the stirring sensation. So I started mine by putting my index finger from my right hand onto the palm of my left hand, swirling it around in about 1.5 inch diameter circle a few times to get the feeling going, and then imagine that you're stirring with a stick until it gets larger and larger and larger until you're covering the entire hand. And then you can place your hand back down on your leg and then do the sponging sensation from the tips of the fingers up to the wrist, back and forth, or doing the whole hand, however you want to do that. Then you go and do the entire exercise on your other hand. When you're done, you do the sponging sensation in both hands, and that ends the exercises for the day. Okay. So, my dream life, let's see. I wrote down my dreams. Let's see if I can grab them. I have a dream blog. I've been keeping it online forever. If you have any interest in reading other people's dreams, I've got years of them. They're at rhythma.com. Oh, that's it's a music website, so I had my music start up automatically. It's rhythma.com. And okay, so the three dreams that I recorded last night: the box, the feather woman, and the breakfast at mom's. The box. This was one of those anxiety dreams that I had going all night long. It was this box that was kind of like a large cardboard box, but incredibly sturdy, and it had all these lighted buttons built into it, and I was trying to get into the box all night long. It was to the point I was tossing and turning, trying to get into this box. Like it was a sequence of buttons I needed to press, or trying to figure out there was some other way to get into the box. And I really couldn't figure it out, but it may actually mirror my astral projection experience, like really wanting so badly to figure out how to get into, because they say that when you astral project, you're not moving outward, right? It's not like you're leaving your body and moving outward, you're actually having an inner experience. So it could have been that. And the next dream, this is the feather woman. So I was in some sort of rural neighborhood, and there were rolling hills. Houses were old, turn of the century, mostly dirt roads, some asphalt. I was sitting in a front yard waiting for a group of people to get together, and it was early. I knew that people wouldn't be arriving for quite a long time. And I was sitting there and I was looking up into the sky, and all of a sudden this large feather started floating by. I perceived it as an eagle feather. What happened was it hit a power wire, and it hit it in just a way that it stopped the feather from floating, and this large wind started to disintegrate the feather, and it was breaking apart into smaller fragments, and it kind of turned into an ostrich feather as each of the feather fragments became more and more raveled and lengthened. And I thought that the feather was being obliterated, and I was a little disappointed until I noticed that the fragments were being caught up in a current of wind that looked very similar to how you might see a large flock of birds creating a pattern when they fly, and the feathers were doing this exact thing, and they started turning bluish, iridescent blue. And I was fascinated by this until the whole feather had broken apart into these smaller fragments. And then the smaller fragments in the swirling pattern they were in started coming toward me, and they actually turned into a woman that I know named Lynn. And she was a little bit larger than she is in real life, and she was somewhat transparent, maybe like 90% opacity, and she was wearing burgundy. And I asked her, I said, Lynn, what are you doing here? And she said, well, I actually like to go and check out the places that I'm going to be going to a little bit beforehand, just to see if there's anything that I need to know. And I thought that was pretty fascinating that she did this. I just so happened to run into Lynn tonight. I told her about the dream, and she said, as I was telling her about the feathers, she said, oh, I knew you were going to say that they're turning blue. She says, that was my deceased husband. And then she gave me a bit of information about something that she knew what this dream meant. And I said, I had this feeling that what I was seeing was your astral body. And she says, yeah. She said, certainly, you were seeing my astral body. So I thought that was interesting. So this is what happens with astral projection, is that we're frequently astral projecting, but we don't remember it. And that's kind of the whole point of doing this, actually, is to increase astral memory. So anyway, the third dream was I was in my mom's dining room, and Wrigley, the dog that used to live in my house here, was there with me. Now Wrigley is a large Labrador retriever, but in this dream she was miniaturized, and she was in this small crate. And Wrigley's kind of funny. she acts very aloof sometimes, and I hadn't seen her in a long time, and she was acting aloof, and I was thinking to myself, do you even really miss me, or what? Um, and then suddenly, Mel and Kirby were in the house with me, and I was in the living room, and Kirby was sitting in the dining room, and Mel was cooking breakfast. And I remember looking over and seeing Mel in the dining room eating something, and I shouted through the living room, "Hey, uh, did we eat breakfast and I completely forgot about it?" And Mel was like, "No, we're making pancakes and I'm just not done yet." So I went over and looked in the kitchen, and there was this rack that must have had like 15 pancakes on it. And I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? And then suddenly I realized I needed to go pee, so I went into the bathroom, and that woke me up. And I actually did need to go to the bathroom, so that's what ended my dream. So anyway, uh, that's the end of day 8.